everybody, Janet Beckers here, and welcome to Romance Your Tribe Radio. And I'm really excited today because I'm feeling like I'm super cool, kind of like rock chick today, because I've got Steve Mastroianni today, who is about the rock star mind. So, hi, Steve.
Hey, Janet. Thanks so much for having me.
It's Steve and I met. We actually met in Puerto Rico, didn't we? Did we meet in Puerto Rico? No.
We met in so in Austin, in Travasa, yes.
Yeah, like very briefly, about a year or so ago, which Steve reminded me because we just recently connected through a forum, through a mutual friend, James Tremco, and Steve was sharing this fantastic win that he had done. And I'll tell you what it was in a minute, because I just thought, you know what, Steve, I have got to get you to come and share this with everybody that is listening. So can you just briefly say like what the share was, what the win was, and then before we go into the details, I'm just going to introduce you a little bit and find a bit more of a backstory.
No problem. Yeah, the win that I shared was that my new book, Practice Less, Play More, hit bestseller on Amazon in 30 categories across 5 countries, and I did it all from idea to bestseller in only 6 weeks.
Wow. That is just from somebody who has I've written quite a few books and also taken books to Amazon top, number 1. And I can tell you there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moving parts involved in that. So when I heard that, it's just like, this is pretty astronomical, what you have done, Steve. So
thank you.
Really, so we're going to dive into that today. I've asked Steve if he can share with us how did he do that, and some really, what things were important and what things didn't he worry about doing to be able to achieve something like that. So we're going to go over, and I want you to get ready to take notes, everybody, because you're going to get some great ideas on things that you can be doing in your business. Now, before we do that, because there's one thing to say, write a book, but that's kind of just something that is a message that is getting out there. I mean, the message comes from that, there's the person behind it who has the message to share and why they are actually wanting to share that message. And so that's what I really wanted to dive into a little bit first with you, Steve, so people get to know you. And as everybody's listening here, I want you to also think about the way that Steve is sharing his message, his why, the reason he has his business and why he's doing it. I want you to think yourself, what about with me? How do, as much as I'm loving listening to Steve's story, how would I tell it if I was Steve? And how that would relate to the future book that I might write. So there's my challenge, everybody. So over to you, Steve. First of all, who is it that you help, and how do you do that?
Yeah, so my audience is primarily guitar players. I would say beginner guitar players, adult beginners, typically ranging from about 40 years old to even just and beyond. I mean, I mainly focus on bucket list goals and helping people make, those big rock star dreams come true. I really love it when someone says, oh, but my hands aren't this, or I was in a musical family or whatever, and then just proving them wrong by, blowing their mind. I love helping guitar players. Guitar is one of the only activities that activates pretty much every part of the brain. So I also know there's so many other benefits to learning guitar. And so guitar has been something, it's been a big part of my life for many, many years. And basically I started playing guitar because I kind of reverse engineered a whole plan, even as a teenager, where I wanted to travel the world. In order to travel the world, I knew that it would be more likely if I was with other people. And so to do that, I thought, it would be fun maybe putting together a band. In order to put together a band, I should write songs. So in order to write songs, I should probably learn how to play guitar. I was a drummer back then, but I thought, let me pick up guitar and learn how to do that, how to write songs. And so one thing led to another, and eventually, band after band, I ended up getting, I started a band in 2009 called The Envy. and we were the first signing to Gene Simmons' record label called Simmons Records. He was coming up to Canada to scout new bands, and we were the first signing.
Wow, that is huge. And for anybody that doesn't know Gene Simmons, like, shame on you. Also, I mean, this is Kiss. I was sharing with Steve just before we came on that I remember the very first time that I got up on the shoulders of a boyfriend at a music festival and did the whole yay, yay. It was at a Kiss festival.
That's awesome. Were you wearing the makeup?
No.
No, you didn't. Okay.
I was at that age where, you know what, the makeup would be cool, but, you know, it was more important that I looked hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's a pretty big claim to fame. And so first of all, like, just congratulations on excellence, because you know, you don't just get picked up by somebody like that because you've shown potential. You know, you get picked up because you've already demonstrated excellence. So, and I just love this. And this is something that I just picked up then from what Steve said. He didn't start from, I love music, I play the guitar a lot, and then I just thought I would go further. I love the whole idea that you had a vision for how you wanted your lifestyle to be. And that vision was, okay, I want to travel and I want to do it with people, so let me reverse engineer. I love that whole idea, because really that's what I'm passionate about in business. And we were talking about before, Steve is as well, that, you know, creating a business, doing stuff you love and creating the lifestyle. So I just love it. You did it right from the beginning. That's pretty
Thank you.
nice, actually.
And that reminded me of something so there was the reverse engineering, which is kind of insane that I understood that back when I was, like, 12 years old, that I just thought like that. But one very important thing a few years later, when I was out of high school, was that I wanted to be a professional musician, obviously, because of that whole plan. And I thought, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do that if I'm, flipping burgers at McDonald's, as like, a kid might do out of high school. And I thought, I have to have a guitar in my hand all day. And in order to do that, in order to technically be paid to play guitar, first I started by teaching guitar. So back when I was, 17, 18 years old, I started a guitar teaching business, going house to house. And so I had a guitar in my hand all day, and that was the plan, because if I was, smelling like cheeseburgers when I came home and tired from all that, playing guitar and writing songs wasn't going to be as effective. So I kind of hacked away into becoming a professional, so that all I was doing all day was guitar and writing songs and getting better at coaching, things like that.
And you know what? This reminds me of the Beatles, with the 10,000 hours that's in Malcolm Gladwell's book. Yes. Is that the Beatles got to be so fantastic because they went to, I think it was Germany, where they had 24-hour clubs where everybody was playing, and they went there and played like for hours every single day. And they went there because they wanted to be, the experts. They wanted excellence, and it was getting those 10,000 hours in. So that's that was pretty wise, actually. So that's a really great thing to bring into your business, that if you're aiming to create a lifestyle business and you have to have excellence doing whatever, well, make sure you find a way of actually developing your expertise in that.
There's so many ways. I mean, there are so many different ways to make money out there, and it might not be a straight line. It might not be obvious. You think a little bit outside the box, and you could find something for sure. If I was able to make, I would have different pairs of jeans, and I remember, because I was living at my dad's place, that I would kind of forget, like, I'd go into the closet and I'd grab a pair of jeans and I put my hand in my pocket and I'd have like a wad of cash. And as a 17-year-old, I was rich, like $400 in my pocket, that I forget about. That's like free money, right? And so there are ways to make money for sure, and that are in line with your goal.
I love it. That is, I mean, even if you don't remember anything that we've done to do today, which of course is not going to happen, that's one really, really good point. Is, you know what, if you're aiming for here, what can you be doing you can be making money that's going to give you that expertise at the same time, like knock it over. That is brilliant. So now let's move on because we're moving over to the business that you've created and the book. So we're leading towards the book. So one thing that I found really interesting is your book, and you've also tied it really closely with your business, is also has a link with cancer. So
Yeah.
would you mind sharing with us how you've linked cancer with your book and why?
Yeah. So I know for anybody listening to that, it's like, you know, the story kind of jumps from there's unexpected twists and turns. And, you know, this specific one is actually, this was the definitive moment in my life. You know, obviously getting signed by Gene Simmons, my band, we opened for Kiss across, you know, North America and Mexico. We played 34 shows with them. And it was a crazy time in my my 20s. And what happened was in 2013, when we were making plans for, you know, what to do for the rest of the year, I got a phone call from my father telling me that he was just diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And, you know, there was one of those moments where you just like everything stops, right? Everything is like in the movie, everything just sort of stops. And in that one moment, I knew that my music career, like, pause. There's nothing, like, there's no way. I calculated in that moment that if I were to continue, it would be unfair to my father, unfair to me, unfair to the band, unfair to the fans. There'd be cancellations like crazy. I just understood that in that one moment. And as hard as it was, to make that sort of the decision, to put that on pause, because we were on the way up. I had to be there for my father. My father is the reason why I was mentioning before I played drums. He's the reason why I play. He bought me the drum kit. He was always my #1 fan. And so this was my turn to give back and to take care of him and be there for him. And so, yeah, because I mean, stage 4 colon cancer, it's a pretty grim diagnosis. And we didn't know what to expect. It was the closest thing that, like, I've just never experienced that before. So naturally, I'm a problem solver and a coach. And so I wanted to make sure that I was there for them, inspiring them, and just finding any solution that I possibly can. And that's when I started my business, Rockstar Mind, because I couldn't sit around. You got to remember, I went from, so my stage name wasn't Steve. Like, I mean, people know me in the music industry as VØID. And so that was very hard, going from sort of the alter ego, traveling the world, you know, hanging out with fans, signing autographs, playing big stages in front of tens of thousands of people every night, and then going to, you know, just some Italian kid at home the same place all the time, being Steve, you know.
Yeah.
It was just, you know, it was a bit of an identity crisis in a sense.
Yeah.
So I had to be creative. I had to do something. And so, you know, years of coaching on and off tour, started this business, Rockstar Mind, where really I was just learning marketing concepts and just getting, you know, helping as many people as possible. And my dad was about to turn 60, and I just had this moment where I just saw everything happen. I had this guitar training, and I was like, I'm going to teach people how to feel like a rock star. And at the same time, I had this sort of cathartic experience where I created this fundraising initiative called VØID Cancer, which was is a tribute to my father. It was there's this video, a documentary I made, it was my father's 60th birthday gift. And basically the idea is that proceeds from everything that I make with the guitar training, proceeds will go to help create new programs for patients and caregivers, because that was the position that I was in. And I felt like if I can help other people, then, you know, it's just going to create a really, really, I didn't know exactly what it would create, but I knew that it would be awesome. It would be helpful. It would educate people, and both guitarists and people who have been affected by cancer. I just knew that it was what I needed to do. It was just one of those things that just something clicked, and I knew that that's what I needed to do.
And the thing that I love from that, and this is, you know, there will be times when, you know, the people who are listening, where there is something that happens in your life that is going to be one of those boom, you know, or sometimes it may just be a gradual awakening where you come to realize. And I love what you've done there, Steve. I love how you talked about the alter ego, and then you've got like real Steve, it's sort of like the Clark Kent type thing, that you can treat that as a reason why, oh well, it was never meant to be, or I'm not going to succeed. It's a reason to give up and change what you do. But I love what you've done there is sometimes those things that can seem like they're the thing that's going to stop you, that hugest obstacle, can really drive your why in business and drive your creativity in business. And that can be as simple as, I was on the career path and I've had children. That can be the why. For you, it's, I'm on the career path, and you know what? I have responsibilities to somebody I love to be there. And so that can really drive your reason why in your business. So we'll flick over now and talk about the book. But before we do, if you can share, because I watched that documentary this morning, and I was just like, I was applauding at the end, just there with me and the dog, because it's short but incredibly moving, and it's also where people can go to get some information. So can you just share that URL for people?
Yeah, so it's voidcancer.com, VOID cancer.com. And on the page, it's just a very simple site. Basically, it's just the documentary. It's about 5 minutes. I think it auto plays depending on your browser. You click that. You pretty much learn everything about me. You'll learn
it's really
why
good.
My name Void, how that came about. It's actually, it was pretty interesting, and sort of this cosmic thing that happened. I'm really interesting. Like, I'm very grateful, especially being a coach, that I can help other people based on some of the victories and the losses in my life. And basically the video, it'll kind of tell you the whole story. And then under there's a button that you click, and then there'll be a few different ways that either you can contribute or you can contact me. The book and the album that I recorded. So the book that I wrote recently that we'll discuss, and also the album that I recorded, I believe it was 3-4 years ago at this point now. All proceeds from those, 100% of the proceeds will be used for new programs. So I'm very, very happy about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I love also that, and we'll talk a little bit about that contact button. So we'll talk about that at the end as well. Yeah, so go and have a look at that, because I just love that video, and I loved all the stories behind the tattoos and how that, anyway, we're not going to give it away. Everybody can go and have a look over there. So now let's look over, I love that we've got the whole story here about, just your entrepreneurial mind, and then your reasons why. And I just love how you saw this as your way of giving back. It was your turn to give to your dad. I just love that, what integrity that shows, truly, and priorities. Now, when you've got your business, so for you, you've got this business where you've got programs that can help people, I'm your total demographic, by the way. Yeah.
You're playing guitar, Janet. I heard about this guitar. A little birdie told me that there's a guitar that's been sitting in your room there for 25 years or something like that.
Yeah.
That's just unacceptable, that it's dusty, and or that it's just there for show. That's a sidebar. Off camera, we're going to take care of that. No problem.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Done. We were done. There you go. I will have to, I'll have to start playing the guitar on these videos.
Love it.
Yeah. Totally your market. So now let's look at your book. So let's look at, first of all, why a book. So this is, if we'll approach this in your coaching sort of hat, is, okay, so we've got 6 weeks to create a book. So we're going to look at what had to take place in order to make that happen. But let's first of all take the step of, there are so many ways that you can get your message out there. There are so many different strategies that you can be putting your time into. You can only do so much. So why a book? And why would other people be looking at using a book as part of their marketing mix?
It's a great question. And I think to really capture the sort of 6 weeks, the understanding kind of why that all happened the way that it did, and just quick little aside is that my life is just about as chaotic as you can imagine. This is where I teach, and this is where I run the business. I'm inside my house right now, and my wife and my daughter, who is now 13 months old, um, they were home for a full year. So in 2018, they were home every single day, and I'm trying to run a business over here. I do, songwriting and production as well, and I do have a studio downtown that sometimes I go to, but it's just me and my wife here, and we're taking care of our daughter. And so I made a conscious decision that in 2018 that I'm going to be here during, the most, pivotal time in a child's life, and also bond with my daughter. I have no idea what I'm doing as a father, even though, I had some audiobooks and stuff that I listened to, but it was absolute chaos here. Anything business related was going to be a bonus. Like anything that was created, any asset that was created is going to be a bonus. And trust me, I've tried everything, webinars and every method of delivery. Okay. And so what happened on December 21st of 2018, just as we're getting into Christmas, lightning in a bottle happened. Like I just got inspired to write a book. It was actually James Schramko had a podcast that I listened to, and there's another cosmic sort of situation where certain things aligned. And I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to write a book. And in that moment, I understood that books are still so powerful. It's where I get a lot of my information, whether it's an audiobook or a written book. But basically the book, I just knew this was the method of delivery, because I know my audience as well, that they've asked me in the past if I have a book. They have, because they're an older demographic, I know that they want to get away from the screen, because a lot of times that creates anxiety. So holding a book in their hands is something that they have, and it's very intimate, that they could read at their own pace. They can mark up. It's a very interactive medium, whether it's ebook or paperback. And in that moment, I just understood all of that. So I almost like blacked out. And next thing I knew, 20 minutes later, I have a little outline where it was sort of just a sort of cathartic. And so, and this is the reason why I'm telling you all this, is because number one, there's no right time to start a book. Like when you're inspired, you have to take hold of that. I've realized in my life, because I've gone through these 2-week spurts of learning something or being obsessed with something. And what I've noticed for myself is that after 2 weeks, it dies down. Like, and this was the worst possible time. Christmas was about to get started, holidays, madness, New Year's, all the madness, right? And so I could have easily said, oh, I'm inspired to write a book. You know what? Let's put it off till the new year. You know what? Yeah, the new year. When everything calms down, I'm going to get to the book.
Right.
What I've learned is that inspiration does not work that way. Being obsessed with something, you have to dive in. And it doesn't mean that you have to hibernate or anything like that, but dive in and make sure that every day and as much as you possibly can, that you hold on to that inspiration and that fire inside you, because it will go away. You might not think it will, but it's not going to feel the same. I'm so grateful that I wrote the book last year in that short time, because if I didn't, I know right now there's no way that I'm not going to write a book from scratch. My first book, the pressure of all this stuff, it's just not going to happen. So you have to hold on to that inspiration, ride the wave of inspiration, and be obsessed with it during that time, especially in the first 2 weeks. It's crucial in the first 2 weeks. So what I did was I outlined just got whatever out, because books by experts are very, in some ways, it's much easier than if it was, let's say it was fiction, because there's things that you talk about with clients that you just get it on paper, like get it on the screen or get it on paper, just as much as you can. Don't judge, just write, just get it out. You're just in sort of purging mode. And then what I did was I did a detailed outline there, I outlined it, just the first one, and then I bought a book on how to write a book, because I also want to leverage experts. I don't want to
love it.
I wanted to make sure that I got this book done before the new year, which is absolutely crazy. December 21st, I'm inspired, and December 22nd, all I have is sort of a short little outline. And I'm reading this book. What was it? It was Book in a Box, which is now called The Scribe Method by Tucker Max. And I wanted to get as many ideas as possible to write. And so December 22nd, that happened. And December 23rd, I write a detailed outline.
Yeah.
December 24th and 25th is Christmas. Boxing Day, I start writing the book. And by this time, I had a detailed outline. And all that means is just basically, you know, first I kind of, you know, here are some sections that, the main sections that I want to talk about. Not thinking about this is for sure, just staying in dreamer mode. Stay in dreamer mode, get it out there. You're still holding on to that, that inspiration, and you're still just, you're not judging. You could always edit later, but you have to get stuff out there onto paper or on the screen. And so yeah, Christmas happened, and December 26th, I had a crazy thought in my head that, okay, I'm going to start the book. Anything is going to be good because it's going to be tangible. And I designed the cover as well. I designed a cover, and I made, again, it didn't have to be perfect. I just had to get it on there, because if I had a cover, then now the book is real. I even made like those 3D outline or 3D mock-ups. So I saw the book. It's like a little mind hack. And clearly, you know, my company's called Rockstar Mind. Like I study a lot about like how the mind works and everything. You have to make it tangible. It has to be real. And you did enough work where there's an outline, and you write a little bit, as much as you can in the first, you know, crucial little area, period there. But the more real you can make it, then you're hooked in. Then you actually start feeding the fire a bit, so that 2 weeks doesn't dip anymore. Now what's happening is you get a little boost, because, oh yeah, I've got an outline, or I've got a cover, or, you know, you're giving a little boost.
Little results, yeah.
Momentum going, right?
Yeah.
And then I know how I did it, but I also don't know how it happened, where I finished the book in 5 days. I wanted to make sure that by the 31st, New Year's Eve, this book was finished, because I did not want to go into 2019 having to write this book. My mother-in-law was moving in from Italy. My wife was getting ready to go back to work. My daughter going to daycare. January was an insane month. So I wanted to make sure that the book was done. So deadlines, obviously very important. It's like all the things that I've ever learned about success all kind of converged. And in 5 days, I had a book, 11 chapters, 256 pages, done.
I was going to ask you that, how many pages. The thing that's come from here, that there's a couple of really good lessons for everybody here that I really want you to take away from this, because you might be listening to this and go, I can imagine for a lot of people, it's going to be this little voice in the back of your head going, yeah, that's him, but not me. Yeah. I couldn't do that. I couldn't, you know, Christmas, I've got these responsibilities, or whatever. So number one is, I want to say to you, that little voice that you can hear in your head, tell it to shut up. Okay.
That's a great point, by the way. The voice doesn't mean anything. The voice is just a prompt. You could say yes, you could say no. All it is just checking in. That's it. And by the way, it could be 5 days, it could be 50 days. Like for me, I was just what I did, right? And I'm also competitive, so I wanted to kind of like, I got into it after a while. Like it was like a telethon or something like that, with the thermometer going up or whatever. Like I was getting competitive, right? That was a bit insane. You don't have to write it in 5 days. I just did that because things are nuts around here with the baby.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it so I could inspire other people to do it in chaos.
Totally good. And you know what? For me, there are 3 lessons that I'd really like to point out from people on this. So number one of them is, first of all, we talked about strategy, and that you had used all different things as a format for getting your voice out there. But you had the aha on the book that you already know your demographic will really appeal to a book. And for me, a book works really well because it gets it into the audience of people who may not actively be searching online. It's another way to reach them. So this was not a bright, shiny object. So your first thing you've got to ask yourself is, I've got this inspiration. Do a double check to make sure, is this a bright, shiny object? I shouldn't be immersing myself. You know, should I put it in my book of great ideas? Or I call it my book of squirrels, because it's sort of like, oh, there's a squirrel. So should it go into the book of squirrels, or should I action this now? So that's number one. The next thing then was, I absolutely love batching. So like I create all of my content in batches, because you get a certain energy and you can get on a flow. So I love what you've just demonstrated there is batching, totally intent. Now, the other one that I really love, how you said, for you, you're very competitive, and so you kept on going. You wanted to do it in the short time. That was really important. Another good thing to know here is know your personality. So any kind of work that you have done on knowing your strengths, where you work well, is have a look at that, because for some people, that would stop them still. That whole idea of, but I've got to plan this. if you know that the way that you work well is, I am a person that I am going to focus and make the most of this batching energy, but I am a person who, if I don't have my laid out plan and my calendar of where this fits in, I'm going to be so stressed out by the whole thing I can't do it. Know that, but take action to get yourself organized and make it happen and batch it and do it quick. Otherwise,
I love that.
taking at least a year to do a book.
Your perfectionist voice will just keep coming in. You'll just want to make that part better. And you have to just keep moving forward. And one very important thing that worked for me is I made it easy for myself to create. Look, I didn't hibernate for 5 days straight. It was Christmas visits. It was the holidays. And so what I actually did was, I used a program called Scrivener, which is a pretty popular writing program, but I had it on this computer, I had it on my laptop, I had it on my phone, and they're all synced.
Oh,
so basically, and that worked for me. Like if you gotta know, like you said, like you write on a piece of paper, like whatever works for you. The most important thing in the first stage, because remember, it's just the first draft, right? Is you're getting it out there and making it easy for yourself. If you write with pen and paper, have a pen and a piece of paper on every single floor of your house. Like have it everywhere, because ideas would come to me. I'm frying up an egg. Oh my God, that's a great idea for a chapter. So I start writing, and now it's synced up in all of my areas here.
That is such a great productivity tip. I love that. That is really, really good, because because I know, I'm just checking my time to make sure that I could talk about this forever. I know when I wrote my solo book that wasn't collaborative, I like batching, so like you've described, but I'm also very organized, systemized. So I found for me, I had to have a spreadsheet, but I also had a folder, because I'm very old, or I like paper and I like pens, but it was all very, very systemized. But I carried both those things absolutely everywhere, because I love how you said, you're going to get your ideas, get it down. Otherwise, it's going to clog up your head. That is brilliant. Okay, so we've talked about, I love the idea of get your brilliance, focus on it now in that batching for that 2 week and keep that energy. That's knowing yourself super well. So the next step then, so if you've got your draft, and good page number, by the way, from somebody who made their book slightly too big and it costs a fortune to post it. That's a good size number. What was the next thing? So you've got your book, you've gone from draft. What was the next steps to be able to get it so that you could actually get it to best selling?
So in a nutshell, once the draft was done, it was basically, I'm gonna find two people who so my customers who know my stuff, who they've had to hear me yapping away. They basically had to see all these like crazy hands and hear me talking about the same stuff over and over for years. And I asked both of them to read the book and give me feedback. And so what I wanted to make sure of, because I knew that I would take the feedback with a grain of salt. I knew I wasn't just going to incorporate everything blindly. I wanted to just make sure that it sounded like me, because look, I didn't want the book to be stuffy. I wanted it to be funny. I tell tour stories in there. I talk about Gene Simmons. There's some funny stuff in there anyway, but I wanted to feel like a conversation with me. And so I wanted to make sure that it felt like me. So it was my voice, and also that it communicated the same system that I've been, telling these guys for years. So that was the main thing I wanted to make sure of. I made some edits to the book. I also went through, I used Pro Writing Aid instead of Grammarly, Pro Writing Aid. I just did a sweep of, look, I understood this is not going to be a perfect book. I just want to make sure that I did due diligence. I went through and I got these guys to check it in. And then after that, I got a formatter hired because I don't know how to do that for Kindle and for paperback. I don't know how to do that. And if I learn, which I'm happy to learn, it just takes too much time. I really wanted to make sure this thing could happen in a short period of time. So I hired a formatter on Upwork, and then I designed the cover. I just had an idea for the cover. Well, I should show the book. Basically, this is one of the proof copies, but I designed basically this, it's 3. The rule of 3 is so important in my life, that there's 3 sections in the book. There's 3 sort of things, 3 core sort of elements to the system. And, it's sort of the rule of 3. So I did this, and all the while boosting that obsession, because at any point you could sort of like, you could crash. I mean, you have to have a good support system in place, and you have to have good wins, quick little wins, right? So I get, as the guys are reading the book and I'm giving the feedback, or they're giving me the feedback, then I'm also constructing and recruiting a launch team from my subscriber list and my customer list.
Right.
And I'm putting together a launch team of people who want to get behind the scenes, look at a launch, be part of something cool, because also the fact that using all proceeds for VØID Cancer, be part of something that's actually going to change people's lives. And you know, I'm in exchange, you know, treat them like gold. I'm giving them the book for free, giving them goodies, and just taking care of them. And
I love that.
They're gonna share the book and spread the word and connect me with whoever they can connect me with. All that is happening at the same time. That's what January was all about.
Yeah.
And that's what took the longest period of time.
I just want to just briefly say something on that strategy, because this is something most people don't do. And a lot of times you can get focused on the product and get focused on getting it out there. Whereas the reality is, I mean, this podcast is called Romance Your Tribe. So a tribe, people want to be gathered around things. They want to be gathered around ideas. They will get attracted to a leader, and the leader is a person who has the message. And so invite them in.
Invite them in, Janet. You know, I've never seen anything so crazy in my life. People, as soon as I announced that I was writing this book and like now I'm an author, everyone, just that they want them to be part of it. Then, and I'm giving all proceeds to cancer. They want to be part of that. Everyone wants to be part of something special, because I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not saying life is boring or anything like that, but a lot of times we can get into a mundane routine, and being part of something that's important and special. These are the things that people will say when they go visit, you know, their friend's house. Oh, you know, what have you been up to? I'm part of this awesome thing, this launch team.
Yeah.
You know, people want important things to talk about. They want that, and they need that. Makes them feel like what they're doing is, you know, it's purposeful.
Yeah, I love that. That's the whole thing of building tribe, building community, and then you've got that groundswell that allows it. That, you know what, the book hasn't even been released yet. I've got it on pre-order, and you've got it to #1. So So was that launch team essential for that happening?
100%. Yeah. So everybody, they want to help out in any way they can. So, I mean, they're pre-ordering, they're getting all their friends to pre-order, they're sharing it on their wall. Some people are connected to some influencers and they pre-order, you know, they message out to their list. It's just, you know, when you do good work and you treat people well, they just want to help out. And so, you know, look, it doesn't even have to be like, I wanted to get to bestseller because it was just a bucket list goal of mine, and that I remembered since I was 8 years old. I completely forgot. It's like, yeah, I wanted to be an author when I was a kid, and I've reignited this spark, and basically, so I have so bestseller was something that, yeah, I there's a little strategy that I just want to share with that, but basically getting a bunch of people together. This person knows this person, and this person knows this person. It's a network. So you can't, I can't remember who said this, but they were saying that if you want to do something, if you want to solve a problem, what is it? If you do it yourself, it's like two times effective or something like that. And if you want to solve 10x the problem or 10x the solution, I'm totally butchering this, but you need to have other people. It's basically it's saying that you can either go it on your own and try to do everything yourself, but as soon as you add other people, it makes it exponentially more effective. And I truly understood this with this book, this experience, because we hit bestseller. I announced it at 9 a.m. and we were bestseller in the UK by noon, and we were also then in the US at 2 p.m. and then in Canada, it just took forever for Canada for the numbers to come in. That was like by 4 p.m., something like that.
And this is through Amazon Kindle or Amazon?
So Amazon Kindle, that's the only thing that you could pre-order, at least for new authors. You could pre-order that, but the book is basically, it's going to be coming out in all formats. So that's very excited about that. But with bestseller, one thing that I made sure of is that you have to do good keyword research. You have to do good category research. And what that means is just look at the categories that are relevant to your niche, and look at what you're up against, basically, and you can kind of make your plan based on what's out there. Don't be product focused as much. See what's out there. Get out there and see what's going on in the outside world, and start playing off of that. What are those titles? What are they saying? What's on their page? Things like that. And so making sure that the keyword research and category research was definitely huge.
That is brilliant. And that's one thing I found with when I've done campaigns to get to number one, and done that with clients as well, is it's very much like SEO, like search engine optimization. You're going to get a much better chance of getting seen if you take the time to do your keyword research and look to make sure you get those categories and the words that are not as competitive, but they're also ones that people are looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I love that.
It's not as hard. It's not as hard as it seems
either.
Like, yeah, you just have to get out there. Like I'll be honest. There's a little fear of like getting out in the real world where you search something, and like sometimes I don't know if anyone else has this, but I'm kind of a little bit scared to like type in my idea and see that other people have that idea, and then I'm like, oh, I'm shut down, right? But it's so important to put yourself out there. Like search, practice less, play more. Are there any other books called Practice Less, Play More? And it's important to see what's related to that, the different books that are going to be coming up, and put yourself in the sort of shoes of the person who's searching for this thing. And anyway, I mean, getting to bestseller and the book's not even out. That was just, I mean, a dream come true. Yeah. I was completely bedridden, by the way, just as a little tidbit. By the time we got to UK, I was going to keel over. I got whatever my daughter, she went to daycare, and I got whatever bug she brought home. And so on Facebook, we've got like the airbrushed sort of life where everything's amazing and all that. But little does anyone know that I was actually like in fetal position on my phone, updating stats and stuff. I'm hoping that launch day goes much better health-wise than pre-order day did.
Yeah, and just answering that, the questions that people have got when you said, you'll do a search and you'll think somebody else has done this, I won't be able to do it. I always have this reframe that I use, and it's so perfect talking to a musician about this, is, if you have a look at all of the number one hits, they're usually a love song. And the top 10s are usually a love song. And that has been for decades and decades and decades. There is always room for another love song. And that can be your book. So, it's just keep that as your reframe if you've got yourself in your mind. And the other thing, I might do a little bit of a wrap up now on some key points. One of the things that we've got here is like, number one, when you've got that concept, double check, not bright, shiny object. Yep, this is absolutely a great idea. Is my energy like totally focused on this now? If I try to do something else, is my mind going to be consumed by it anyway? Let's just get it done as much as we can and just stop perfection. Get it done. So there was that. Then there's the next side of, okay, I'm going to be systematically putting it all up so that, it will be rating, and I've got, so you've got that systematic side of you, you're looking at your keywords, but then the magic comes when you actually involve a community, when you bring a tribe in. And one of the things, and that was what you were saying, was absolutely essential to the success of this launch. Now, one thing that I know whenever I've talked to people about this, about involving a community around something like launching your book, very often people will go, but I can't ask people to do that for me. Like, it's selfish. And it stops them from moving forward. I loved how you said how this was such a gift to the people who were involved, because they want the story.
They want to tell the story. We forget that what are the cool things like for them to tell at a dinner party and to share on their wall. I mean, it's super cool to be part of a project like that, especially that we all get to celebrate together, that we hit bestseller, we did it. If we could all have the champagne, going. Such a special thing. I couldn't have done it without people. And one very, very important thing of why you need a launch team is because those people on the launch team, they will give you your first reviews, 4 or 5 star reviews on Amazon. And between bestseller and Amazon having the reviews, basically it's going to kick in the sort of the mechanism for Amazon to now put that up there. And it's just, you need to have reviews, because when other people come in there, you have the keywords and the categories that you've ranked for. You have to have those reviews, because that's what gets people to pay attention. I buy on Amazon every single day, and of course I look at the reviews.
Yeah, before you decide to. I love it. Look, I think we could keep on going forever, but we better wrap up. This has been a little bit longer, but we've just, honestly, you have given so many gems. I'm so grateful to you, Steve. And I know everybody that's listening, if we look at the big themes that Steve has shared with us today, we have shared about, just that whole idea of reverse engineering from your lifestyle to what have I got to do? And then also, how do I get excellence? So what can I be doing that's going to help me to become excellent at what I'm doing? Then we've gone to, sometimes, sometimes life just, the classic thing of give you lemons. So, you don't have to make lemonade. You can just like make a margarita type stuff, because Steve's given a great example of that's what's, started him with this with the business that he's doing. So that, the problems can become the whys. And then the whole process of making the book, when we've talked about that, that more emotional side of here's my energy, here's my inspiration, I've just got to grab it, using what you do well, bringing in a whole community to support you to do that. And then also tying that in with the things that really matter for you, which is around the music, which is around, helping other people who are either suffering from cancer, and the carers like you've been, that are in there, like that whole thing. Just like people have got so many facets to their personality. Like when you were saying, Steve, wow, we could go everywhere. People have got so many facets to their personality. The same with your business. You build a tribe, and that's not just something linear. It's got this whole beautiful facet and all these different parts that are in it. And it's great to involve people in that whole process. So I'm so grateful that you've been able to take us and show us how all of that looks when you actually allow yourself to just bring all of that in together. So my challenge to everybody here is, look at these things that we've done today and look at your own business, your own whys, your own passions, what works for you, and what lessons can you take from this. So moving forward, one of the best things that you can do for Steve and for I is to give some feedback. So that could be wherever you're listening to this, we'd be very grateful for any reviews, of course, but also just contact Steve. Go over to voidcancer.com, and he's got that contact there. Contact Steve and tell him, what you loved about today. And what things that you've taken action on, what ahas, because that's one of the most rewarding things you can do. And Steve, we were talking beforehand about ways that you can help people from here on in. So would you mind sharing with that, so if people want to contact you more and be part of Steve's world?
For sure, yes. So when you go to voidcancer.com, underneath the video, there's a button that you can click, and there will be 3 options that pop up. There's buy the book, there is buy the album, and then there's also contact me directly. And what writing the book has done is actually inspired me to help experts to create a book of their own. And I just had such a blast doing it. You could see how I just light up, and I want to help to light up and help other people, achieve their bucket list goal. Because really, what this does, this is your legacy. I mean, my life is in this book, and this is going to outlive me. And it's something that I realized during the process. And those lessons, those tidbits, how I feel, I want to just help other people do that. So I am currently offering a free strategy session that if you are thinking about writing a book, if you're in the middle of writing a book, you got stuck in a rut, and you just need to be re-inspired, just contact me and we'll have a chat about it and see what, where to go from there.
Yeah, that's incredibly generous of you. So thank you so much, Steve. I've really, really enjoyed today. And we're going to talk guitar when we get over here. So maybe we'll have another one where Steve and We might do like a duet.
Love it. Jam session.
Yeah, Zoom jam session. I'd love it. That would be super cool. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, Steve. And everybody, I'm really looking forward to hearing the lessons that you've had from today. And share this around to anybody that you know that would really benefit from it. Okay, bye, everybody.